I told you it was going to happen, and it eventually did happen. That's what we're seeing with the success of Clair Obscur, kind of bringing out the sharks right now. The sharks in the gaming industry today that are there to manipulate and change what the industry is there for in its essential purpose, to be something that produces games for the fun of the customer and player base. But that is not the goal for a lot of the gaming media journalists, consultancy firms, and specifically for companies like Sweetbaby Inc. And that's why we're seeing a storm of criticism for this highly successful game after just a few months of being released. And I think this is the thing that I said previously in another video, that Sweetbaby Inc., all these consultancy firms and political activist organizations that are praising this game right now are going to seek to control the future of this game, the movies, the media, and anything related to this property, and they want to inject it with their own personal progressive ideologies. And that's what we're seeing right now happening with this game, as media outlets are coming out attacking the developers, the lack of diversity, the racism, every angle that we see games being attacked today for a lack of following the modern day standards of progressive values. And I think this is kind of a weird thing if you did play Clair Obscur, because it seems like a pretty diverse game, a pretty sensible game that is just focused on producing good content for the gamers where they can enjoy the overall experience. And I think that's the focus of the developers at Sandfall Interactive. They were there to make a game that is fun and classic to the JRPG standard that the main developer actually loved. And I think that's the thing people loved about Clair Obscur. If you don't know, Clair Obscur is a French developed game that came out just a few months ago that was developed by a small group of people. One person being an ex-Ubisoft dev that was just tired of working in the monotonous environment of Ubisoft, where you're just out there to create slop that is unentertaining and mostly politically oriented. And that's what we got with the director of Clair Obscur, where he left the game company to produce a game that he was passionate about. And it only took around 50 developers. I know we keep seeing the 33 developers. That's the core base of the development group, but he had outside developers that actually helped produce this game, and it kind of grew into something that was absolutely excellent and interesting to the gamer and player base. And I think that's the thing that people respect about Clair Obscur, where you have this man, Guillaume Broche, who absolutely poured his heart and soul into the game. You can see that this is a game made by someone that loves video game. This guy used to film Devil May Cry playthroughs with no-hit playthroughs in his spare time. That's where you see that passion of gaming from this person. I think that's what gamers are responding to, and that's what is leading to the massive success of this game, where everyone is cheering on this game, critics and players alike, which is an obvious dichotomy that we don't see too persistent in the gaming industry nowadays. It's usually a schism between the audience and the critics, and they seem to actually praise this game in unison. And I think that is the thing that we're seeing taking the overall media off guard, where the gamer and player base love this game, and the game has some elements of actually producing content that is specifically made for gamers. And this has led to massive critical praise because this game is in line with the overall zeitgeist of the gaming atmosphere right now, where something is just made for the fun of it. And I think even the people that really don't even play games, that review games, which we call gaming critics, could not deny this game. And I think this is what we see with the overall increase of the player base of this game, where it keeps growing week by week, reaching peaks beyond 145,000 players. The absolute success of a game that has sold over 3 million copies on a small budget below $1.6 million. At least that's a speculation from people talking about this game and the overall development costs. And it just kind of puts to shame all the Ubisofts and AAA developers and quadruple A developers that have been over $400 million to produce something lesser with absolutely no interest from the gamer and player base. And I think that is the thing that is striking a chord right now with the media circus around this game, where the media critics who feel like they cannot criticize this game for its overall quality have seen its glaring obvious schism, or at least breakaway path it's making for developers out there, where it's showing that you kind of don't need the media at all. You kind of don't need the overall criticisms and critiques of the gaming critics at all. You don't really need AAA developing at all to produce a high quality game. And I think this is putting fear into the gaming industry in general. And that's why we're seeing attacks against this gaming studio. If you're not aware, you see multiple articles coming out attacking this game for being something that it's absolutely not meant to be. They're attacking this game saying it's mostly white developers. Where's the diversity in the overall staff that is developing the game? When that shouldn't even be a main focus. He's hiring the most competent people to produce the game at a cost. And I think that's what he was mainly focused on. But of course, when you're in the modern day video gaming industry, it isn't about quality of development. It's about the diversity of the development team. It doesn't matter if they have the skills and the focus and ability to actually produce the content. It's just about if they have the look that is appropriate for the modern day setting of producing video games. And I think that's a complaint that we're seeing from gaming, social media journalists, and Twitter activists, where they're attacking this game for its lack of diversity, developers not actually being diverse enough, having too much white men in the room developing a game. And this is kind of the insistence that we see in the modern day progressive movement that has enveloped the video gaming space, where it's just not about gaming anymore. And I think this is the thing people hate about the AAA gaming studio, specifically Ubisoft, where Ubisoft is overflowing with developers that have no skills, but they have the right look and orientation to be part of a AAA studio. And that's why we keep seeing terrible games produced by these AAA studios. They have too much dead weight. And I think Clair Obscur is showing that the AAA gaming market is a dead waste of space. And this is kind of putting a little bit of fear in the Sweetbaby Incs and all the developers that follow that mantra and mentality of the progressive movement that is focused on DEI, inclusion, about personal orientation, rights, and racism, and overall racial output that they want to see in the video gaming industry. And I think this flies in the face of everything that they stated is core to the development of the video gaming space, because you have a majority white staff, you have a director that's white, and you have all these people that do not focus on diversity making a quality game. And it kind of goes into the face of their major principles that diversity is our strength. And that is just showing like, no, we just actually need capable people. I think that is the thing that we see here with Clair Obscur. He just looked for people that were willing to do the job at the right price, had the skills, and were appropriate and experimental enough to make something that was actually good. And there is diversity here. It's just not the right diversity. You have some Asian people, you have some lightly Spanish people that are working on this, but it's just not dark enough for the race hustlers out there in the modern day video gaming industry, which kind of flies in the face of everything they're saying about being diverse. They're more focused on race, making this like a racist topic rather than the developers themselves who didn't care about race. They made something complete with passion and focus and creativity at its core, and they didn't care about that. And I think that is the thing that we see nowadays with the modern day video game environment. They are actually racist. They care about race more than anything else. And I think this is the thing that we see with Clair Obscur. They absolutely do not care about race, and they're pushed in a corner now where they actually have to reply to this nonsense accusing them of being racially biased. And that's why we keep seeing these reports coming out saying they're racist, they didn't hire the right diverse team, the people with experience that were ordering triple pay and actually lacking the ability to create a video game. He skipped over those people. He didn't hire those people. He hired people with the ability that actually are interested in the game that he's producing. And I think this is the hate that we're seeing right now in the comments related to this, where people are complaining like, oh, I have all this experience and diversity, inclusion, and making that possible in the game. They didn't hire them because they didn't need that in their game. They didn't need to focus on these other outputs that mean nothing to the actual quality of the product. And I think this is the thing that we're seeing now. And this is why we're seeing them respond back saying, hey, we didn't really care about all those elements. We were just trying to produce a good game. And I think this is a sorry state of the gaming industry in the beginning of an attack from Sweetbaby Inc., where they're going to pull up more of this information saying, hey, you better put more diverse people in your video game, in your development staff. You should have a diversity section. You should DEI section. You have all this stuff. You have to put in these elements that will make a more poor quality game, but in the end will satisfy our aims of making the video game industry in our own reflection of progressive racist ideals. And I think that is a situation we're seeing right now. And I predicted this would happen. And this is just the start. They're going to come after everyone in this developer group, specifically the CEO, and they're going to try to find any sort of dirt to kind of just tear down the actually core developers of this game. And I think this is a sorry state in the video gaming industry where success is met with backlash, hatred, and accusations of racism. And I think that's what we're obviously seeing for this successful team. But that's what comes with success nowadays. And I think, unfortunately for them, the backlash is something different. It's not just saying we don't like you for making a successful game. It's just that you have to make a successful game in our reflection. If you don't do that, we're going to ruin whatever sequel, whatever DLC, we're going to talk bad about you. And I think this is what we saw with Black Myth Wukong. We saw this with Kingdom Come 2, which actually acquiesced to the demands of these people and made a game that was a complete opposition of the first game. And I think this is what we're seeing right now with Clair Obscur. They want them to throw away everything that built up this actual great game in place for their personal political ideology. But I hope they don't do that, but it seems like it's going to be the case, and they're going to have to make a choice, the gamers or the social media activists. I think this is an easy choice, but a lot of developers crumble under this choice, like the Kingdom Come 2 developer. But that's just my thoughts on the situation. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Do you think Clair Obscur developer Sandfall Interactive will crumble under the pressure? I hope not, but they're in France, and France is kind of the flagship country for these progressive ideals, and I don't know how they can withstand that pressure. But that's just my thoughts on the situation. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.